Hi, how much of development is actually development? Meaning the engineering, the design, all of the integration, that it's upfront, the initial actual work that it takes to produce a product. Turns out that a lot of development work is a little tiny piece of a much longer life cycle. There's the upfront development, and then from that point forward, it's all about ongoing support, maintenance, providing services. Turns out that every time a product is developed and produced and deployed, there's a much longer service and support cycle. We all know that. And yet, a lot of times we're trying to improve the development piece, when in fact economically it probably makes more sense to actually work to improve the service piece. And so in agile teams, that's just as true as it is for traditional operations. So perhaps maybe we should be looking at how do we improve the much longer, higher economic part of the product life cycle, which is the service, the ongoing support and maintenance. Development teams have a hard enough time making money and keeping their clients happy during the most critical and risk-prone and unknown-prone portion of their entire operation. That's the development piece itself. Because everybody's trying to get that piece perfect, that piece right. But it turns out that economically, most of the work throughout the world is in the service piece. And working so hard to try to improve this one little piece may be just the wrong place to look. Certainly, there are many operations that don't have this little piece done very well. They really have a hard time with engineering. They don't understand engineering. Perhaps they really shouldn't be in an engineering operation. Maybe they need a lot more help in engineering because they don't realize that things are sometimes technical and you need to go through all that. So in those cases, yeah, we need to focus on that part right here where there's a lot of need. But under most circumstances, that's not where the problems occur. The problems are, we start out with bad engineering, we're going to end up with a lot of service problems. But that's where the money's spent, in the services. While we can eliminate a lot of that with good engineering, most operations, they don't do a lot of engineering. They don't come in at the beginning when the engineering happened. They come in at the end or somewhere along the way after the engineering has long since gone by. And working to improve a tiny portion of what's happening may not be the right place to improve. What I've found in many teams, especially agile teams, is that the incompatibilities between CMMI for development and agile teams may not really be because there's a problem with CMMI for development during the development phase of the agile team. It may actually be that because the agile team is no longer in development. They're doing a lot of the work in the sustainment, in the ongoing maintenance and operation. That's where they're doing their work. It's not in development that there's a problem with CMMI, because when you're doing development, CMMI for development can actually help a lot if there's problems. But the fact is that so much of the work is happening in the service portion that when we try to apply CMMI for development, when a product is already in service, and the amount of engineering, I'm not saying there's no engineering in the development piece. There's just a lot less engineering, during the maintenance and operation. There's a lot less engineering in the maintenance and in the operation than there is during development. But that's where most of the work is going on. Most of the work is going on in the service piece. So perhaps we should be looking at improving the service piece and less at looking at the development piece. When you're in development, use CMMI for development, but that's not where a lot of the work is happening. And perhaps the incompatibilities between CMMI for development and agile teams has nothing to do with development. It's because they're hardly doing any new product development. They're doing maintenance and service. There's a CMMI for that. It's called CMMI for services. And it seems, when you look at how Agile is set up, there seems to be much more compatibilities between the business rhythm of CMMI for services and the business rhythm of Agile teams, especially when they're in the service phase. So I encourage you to read the rest of the blog entry, and hopefully, perhaps, we may have uncovered one of the key reasons why CMMI in general is perceived to be incompatible with Agile. It's not because the model is incompatible, it's because we're trying to apply a development improvement model in what is essentially a service business model. There's a CMMI for that, CMMI for services. Keep services to improve the services, and when development needs to happen, then you need to look at CMMI for development. But since it's so much less of the economic model, so much less of the time frame and life cycle, we have to make a business decision on, is it important, is it valuable to improve the development? Because it might be, and it probably is for many operations, but maybe where they are right now is not in development, and it's going to be really hard to use CMMI for development there. So when a request comes in, is it one of many kinds of services like help desk, IT ops, networks, or enhancements, or is it development once in a while? Because the vast majority of those options were all services. The development piece comes once in a while. Sometimes you have a big update, then use CMMI for development. But everything else is CMMI for services. Maybe that'll help. I hope so. And if you have questions, get in touch. Thanks.